Hello and welcome back. Today I am looking at Mirage. Now, despite the fact that this is a build video, I actually want to start by saying that the build with Mirage isn't actually as important as the build on the weapons you have and what weapon you're using. As we already know, Mirage goes very, very well with things like Synoid Simulor, Ignis, etc, etc. So perhaps the build could be taken with a little bit of a pinch of salt. I would recommend getting a bit of efficiency, duration, as well as utilising natural talent, as particularly her fourth ability, the cast time, is pretty darn epic. Now, to get Mirage, you have to buy the quest Hidden Messages, which will give you a select amount of riddles, 3 in fact. The first riddle will lead you to Olympus on Mars, the second riddle will lead you to Calypso on Saturn, and the third riddle will lead you to Charybdis, on Sedna, Charybbdis. That's how you spell it. Pronunciation is beyond my area of expertise, I'm afraid. But however, she is a pretty darn good frame. She's an absolute glass cannon and has kind of become a little bit of a pain with a lot of people, as adding in things like Synoid Simulor to her, you kind of end up wrecking everything in the room, as well as being a hell of an eyesore for pretty much everyone. Synoid Simulor has since got nerfed, so I haven't actually really seen one since. There's been a lot deadlier or equal to combinations between weapon and frame lately, but it is entirely up to you on what weapon you put with her. I would recommend an AoE frame. If you really want to be an eyesore, Phage is the way forward, because it is just this massive web that just fills the screen, and yeah, it's just hell, especially if you're colourblind like me. Ignis I find particularly useful. I want to point out that the Ignis Wraith that I'm actually using, I'm still building and trying to find a different build for, so that's the reason it's not wrecking everything at this level. Anyway, back to Mirage. She is a good frame. Her one ability, Mirror Image, causes there to be 5 of you. Her second ability causes random items within the map to become traps. I use the augment, so those spare bits of ammo I don't pick up, they become proximity mines that deal X amount of cold damage. Her third ability is a bit weird. In the shade you get an armor buff, and in the light you get a damage buff. If you've got the augment for that, you can actually make up probably one of the better buff frames going. And then obviously you've got Prism, which is, well, it deals pretty decent damage, and then it blinds things. This is a very useful tool for crowd control. However, the blind is only line of sight, so if the enemy is ducking behind something, they don't get blinded because the blind hasn't hit them in the face, I suppose you could argue. But seriously though, she is a really good frame. I would like to share my build with you. It's only 2 former, so it's not too expensive to actually go through, and for me personally, I find the overall effect pretty darn worth it. It's nothing too fancy. It's basically a bit of health and augment, and the rest of it is just putting all of her stats in the positive. It's nothing particularly special, but it does work, mainly to high levels. But to get her further into high levels, you are going to want to get a decent weapon. Just to prove a point of how you can actually sort of utilise her, this is 6 level 145 corrupted heavy gunners. I don't actually kill them, well I do off camera, but just to sort of show the way you can sort of play around with her and just keep her alive, because she is a really, really squishy frame. She's an absolute glass cannon, like I said earlier. So you just need to just utilise all of her abilities just to keep her going. So hopefully you find that with my build as well. Now, the build I am using is Energy Siphon, because she's constantly using energy. Power Drift, Vitality, Intensify Stretch, Streamlined, Prime Continuity, Prime Flow, Natural Talent, as I said that's a main one due to her casting animations, and Explosive Ledger Domain. I prefer Explosive Legend Domain over the rest of her augments purely for the fact that it just adds an extra little bit of crowd control, and it just helps keep her alive, particularly for the enemies that haven't been blinded. They get hit by the cold proximity mines with 100% chance of proc. Anyway, that's me. Thank you very, very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Big kiss.